Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Pro Video Pages webinar and podcast series. Today, I'm joined by Eric Schulman. And let me tell you a little bit about Eric before we jump into his webinar. Eric is a serial entrepreneur with over 50 years of frontline sales experience. He's been a nationally recognized sales trainer and coach since 2003 and has helped more than 4,000 sales professionals double their commissions and income in less than 1 year. And I invited Eric to participate because I wanted to hear what he had to say as it relates to professional service providers and folks in my network. And this one is a little bit different. I'm going to join Eric on this webinar and ask him some questions as they come up. It's going to be interactive, and hopefully I'll ask some questions that you might have. And if you do have any questions and want to ask Eric, I'm going to share his email at the end of this, and you can reach out to him. But he's got 13.5 things that we can learn from, and let's just get into it. Welcome, Eric.
And pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Thanks for inviting me. One of the things you and I talked about initially was why 13.5 things? Well, when you hear 13.5, everybody wants to know what the 0.5 is. And one of the tips I give anybody, if you're going to be speaking, make the title of your speech something that people go, huh? And it sort of stops them in their tracks, and you're much more likely to get more people to come to your talk. Hopefully it works for this one too. Shall we just dive right in?
Let's do it.
Good. The reason that I came up with this talk is I realized as an entrepreneur, there were certain things that I didn't do at different stages. So these are the things that are the most glaring errors that we as business people and as business owners and as salespeople make. The first thing, we're not calling people. People today tend to rely on emails. They stare at their phone all day long. They're texting to people. Younger generations think it's impolite to actually pick up the phone and call and interrupt people. Gatekeepers are tough to get through, or in some cases non-existent, because a lot of companies have these phone trees that have a black hole that people calling in all lined up in. And so they don't pick up the phone to call. Well, if you don't pick up the phone to call, if you never ask her out, you're never going to find out if she's a no. So the things that hold us back, a lot of it is we will get what I call very, very creative in terms of trying to avoid the behavior. Well, I want to make these calls, but my list isn't in order, or I got to do this filing, or I have to get these bills out, or I got an appointment in a half hour, so I better not get involved in. And then all of a sudden it's 4:30 and it's too late to call. Excusitis is the failure disease. So you're making excuses. I call it creative avoidance. I can stay busy all day long. So key is pick up the phone and make some calls. Don't try to make 200, make 10. Make 5, make 2, make 1 today, 2 tomorrow, 3 the next day. And in a week and a half, you're making 10 calls a day and your contacts are getting where they need to get to.
And I have a question. Who should we be calling?
Well, we're going to talk about what's our ideal client profile? Who we want to be reaching. You've got to be calling the people that need or might need your services or could refer you people. And I'll talk a little bit about that on a couple of the other points in here, but it's a good question. Who should we be calling? Anybody who uses our services or could use our services. And then you have to narrow it down.
And these could be cold calls, right?
Cold calls. Yeah. And what's interesting about the term cold call sounds so stressful. Everybody gets called, and we get cold calls at home. And the problem is that people sound like salespeople. That's what they sound like, right? How are you today? The first letters are HAYT. That's a hate crime in sales. Don't ever say, how are you today? Hi, Ann, Eric Schulman. Probably caught you at a bad time, didn't you? The messaging is different. I'm relaxed. You'll relax. And you actually might have a conversation. Look, we could talk about how to start conversations, but we have to get through this.
Yeah.
Number 2, I ask people, are you networking or are you not working? How many meetings have you gone to where you wound up sitting with people and halfway through the meeting, you say, this is a waste of time. I'm getting out early. Yeah, me too. We'll grab one more little cocktail hot dog on the way out. And that's not networking. That's not working. Are you talking to people you don't know? What is the purpose of going to a networking meeting? And we'll talk a little bit about the difference between networking and referral groups, but a networking meeting, you go to meet people, correct?
Correct.
And what are people trying to get at a networking meeting, Ann?
They're trying to basically get some sales, right?
The wrong reason to go.
Yeah.
You go to a networking meeting to help other people. Write
Mhm.
one down.
Yep.
I'm not there. So number one, go to the right networking meetings. It says fish where the fish are. So if I'm looking for CEOs of large companies, I'm not going to find them in their little Chamber of Commerce meeting in Podunk, Florida. I'm going to have to go to the downtown Orlando Chamber. I'm going to have to join at the executive level or go to some of those kinds of functions. I'm going to have to go to boards or join a board and start working with a charity in order to meet the right kind of people that I want to meet. If I'm looking for small, privately held businesses, yeah, chambers of commerce, things like that. So fish wherever the fish are. You talked about ideal client profile. I decided years ago I would rather be a bigger fish in a small pond. So rather than joining the large chamber in the area, I joined the number 3 chamber in the area. And I made an impact there for 3, 4, 5 years. Started programs, was a face that people knew, and then I worked into the other chambers. So pick where you're going to fish. The next thing about this, have a good 30-second commercial that doesn't sound like a commercial. People try
Mhm.
and what they do on their face. I can help you and fix this. It's like they got a paintbrush full of paint. No. Paint a picture on the wall. I help people like that who are struggling with issues like that, and that. Do you know anybody like that? And if it's the person you're talking to is having those problems, they will paint themselves into the picture. But
Exactly. Then it's their choice.
by third partying it, you're not making it about them. You're telling them about, here's a picture of what I do. And if they go, oh my God, I'm in that picture,
Mm.
they will raise their hand and they will volunteer. Okay? Put
Great.
them on the calendar and then they cancel, right? Well, then you really didn't have any reason to get together with them. Don't try to pressure people into an appointment. Make them ask you for an appointment. Hey, can we have 15 minutes of your time? No, I can't accomplish anything in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Why should they meet with you? They have to have a reason that matters to them. My goal at a networking meeting is to give 2 referrals every day. That's what I tell people. Every day, you should be giving 2 referrals, whether you're in a meeting or not. You're on a call with somebody that you're talking with online. You don't even know them from Adam, but they mentioned somebody and you know somebody in that area that might be good to connect them with and you feel comfortable with the person, connect them. Worst that can happen is they don't hit it off. Best that can happen is you get a thank you from both of them. And they start doing business together. Now they both value your friendship a little bit more. If you
Mhm.
give 2 referrals a day, you'll eventually start getting 2 referrals a day. So that's the rule. Give 2 and get 2. Eventually you'll start getting 2. There we go. And referral groups versus networking groups. You and I are a member of a group called The Connected. Very, very good group. It is not a networking group. It is a referral. We are actually looking to learn about each other and help each other get exposure or get them in front of the people that we know that can help them because they're all reputable. So referral groups, you should have a referral group that you belong to, no more than 1 or 2, because you don't want to have 5 HVAC contractors you're trying to refer business to or 5 business consultants, and a couple of networking groups. And date them. Do not get married to a networking group. Date before you get married. I joined the Connective, sir, I'll give it 3 months. And in 3 months, if I don't feel like I can contribute and I'm not getting anything out of it, turns out it was a good marriage, okay? And now I'm a member as long as I want to be. So
Mhm.
those are the kind of things you have to do. Evaluate, okay? Okay. So that's the difference between referral groups and networking groups. Let's move on to the next one. You're not building strategic alliances is the third thing I came up with. And when you hear the word strategic alliance, what does that mean to you?
Well, actually, it's the reason that I joined the Connective because I realized the value of a good lead, of a referral. It costs money to generate lead. And when you partner with people and they're looking for business for you, then there's a value to that. So I joined the Connective for that. And specifically because I knew or I learned in that dating period that the people who could refer me most easily are in there. And so, yeah, I think you're going to get into it with more detail here, but
Well,
people that it's easy to refer me.
strategic alliances are people who sell into the same world or the
Yeah.
same area that I sell into. And it's sometimes people that look like they actually may be competitors, but if they only overlap a little bit, they overlap on 10 or 20% of what they do, then they can comfortably say, look, I'm not going to offer any of these services to your clients. And we can now refer business back and forth for the 80% where we don't overlap.
Mhm.
Um, we're both roofing companies, and I do a ton of my business is repair work, and you hate doing repairs. Okay, I can usually do a full roof, so we could be strategically aligned. I was asked to join a strategic alliance group, and I was not a good fit. And basically, this is what they look like. The gentleman owned an IT company. So when a company moved, all the IT work had to be done. All the wiring had to be done on the walls, low voltage and all that, and the power supplies for the computers. Well, when you move an office, you also need a moving company, and you'll need a leasing company because you're going to need space, and you're probably going to need a printer, and you may need a copier or a coffee service. And so they had a group that got together every 2 weeks at one of their offices. They had coffee and donuts, and they said, what do you got going on? And they would open their books to each other. I got 4 new office moves. This one, this one, this one, and this one. This one's out of state, so it's not good for you, but I need to connect you to these 2. And they literally they didn't need to do much more than that. So if you don't have a group like that, form a group. And in your business, with what you do, who gets business when you get business?
Marketing agencies.
There you go. Who else? What other photographers?
Not necessarily a photographer. It's been a while since I was in BNI, and I did that when I was a marketing consultant and coach.
Yeah.
And so that was the graphic designer, the web designer. And so I was working on marketing strategy. So
I'm a sales trainer, so a recruiting company who's hiring salespeople. Well, those people are going to need training. Somebody who works in the HR field with no HR managers. A company that provides CRM services. So they would know where a company's got 18 or 80 or 800 salespeople that could lead me to. So those are the kind of things you look like. So build strategic alliances. And McDonald's, it's like the hamburger without fries. They go together. And would you like the shake? Would you like the biggie size? That's all what a strategic alliance is. You're putting things together. By the way, would you like fries with that is the best upsell in the history of the world. Because they make 3 times, they make the money on the fries. They don't make that much money on the hamburgers, but they make a lot of money on fries and sodas. Number 4, you don't have a sales process. Everybody tends to be process driven, whether it's working with computer programs, whether they are accounting, got to have an accounting process, right? You have a marketing process. And most people don't have a defined sales process. I'm going to go to a networking meeting and I'll talk to some people. I'll put some proposals out. I'm good with people, so they wing it, right? They went to a seminar. Ever go to a seminar? Your sales friend? Yeah. David Stanley wrote a book called You Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bike at a Seminar.
Yeah, I know that one.
You don't learn sales by watching somebody on stage tell you what you should be saying. You learn it by practicing the words, just like if adults learn by doing, not by watching. So you've got to be able to have a process that is duplicatable. You got to have a real system. And here's the danger, Ann. Our prospects have a system that they use against us. Are you aware of the fact that your buyers all use the exact same buying process?
I don't know about the exact same, but I know I have a process as somebody being sold to.
All right, so put your buyer's hat on for a second. This is your buying process. The first thing is, I'm just looking. A, we're getting ideas. We need to get a quote. We're getting free bids. Or you walk into the White House black market. Can we help you? And the stock answer is no, just looking. Okay? So we start by lying because we went into that store for a reason or we're talking to them. So the first thing that the prospect does is lies to us. We're just looking is the most common lie we hear.
Yeah.
The second thing they do is they steal from us. Can you give me a proposal? Can you show me what you'll do? Can you break it into pieces and itemize it for me? Why does the prospect want our proposal, Ann?
Well, they want to make the best decision for themselves and be able to I would think, compare prospective providers of that service. And the more information they have, the better off they are. But also where I think you're going with this is that, hey, Bob says that he's going to do X and Y. You didn't talk about that. And so
they start picking it apart and they start asking for discounts and they and they would never show your proposal with the current vendor, would they?
Yeah, never. Well, because
Bob matches your price.
Right.
It's all over. So,
especially because.
So they're stealing from us.
Right.
Okay. And we encourage the theft. We do too much. We'll talk about later, but we do too much of that. First thing is they lie. I'm just looking. Then they get your proposals, all your information. You educate them. The third step is they commit to nothing, but they don't say no. This looks good, but
Mm-hmm.
we're not making a decision until the first of the month. We're getting 3 bids. We've put this on the back burner for a couple of weeks. If you give me a time to think it over, I like that.
So
And
one
then
more.
they do step 4. They disappear. They go into the witness protection program.
Exactly. And with the sales process, you got me thinking about KPIs. Measuring, is that part of what somebody should build into their sales process? So how many calls did I make? Whatever those KPIs should be for a sales process.
We'll go a little off topic here, but that's called cookbook. You have to build a cookbook. My wife is a baker, and everything is exact measurement along the way. She's professional bakers. You're very good. I'll show you a picture sometime. And if I want to bake a cake to make $10,000 this month or $100,000 this month, whatever the zeros are. All right, if a client's worth $2,500 to me, and I want to do 10,000, that means I'm going to do 4 clients this month, correct? Okay. Well, let's back out of that. If I want to close a client, back up to phone calls and contacts. How many attempted contacts do I need to make in order to have one meaningful conversation with someone? 1 out of 5, 1 out of 10, 1 out of 20. For purposes here, let's say it's 1 out of 10. I have to have 10 conversations with people for one to say, we need to really sit down and talk about this. So how many of those conversations in your world, Aaron, with somebody who says, yeah, let's talk about this, will lead to a proposal? It's good enough of a prospect. You think that you can help, he's committed, you're convinced, and you put a proposal. You meet with 3 people, 13 people. How many to get one proposal out?
Maybe it's maybe 2 or 3.
Okay. So let's say it's 1 out of 3. Okay. And if you put 5 proposals out there, how many of them close?
1 to maybe 2.
Okay. Let's take the low number off. Okay. So 10 calls to have 1 conversation. But I need 3.
Actually, no, it would be higher in the 5, but go ahead for the sake of it.
Okay. If I have 10 phone calls to have 1 conversation, and I have to have 5 of those conversations, and I put out 2 proposals, and I close 1 out of 5 of the proposals, I've got to make about 60 phone calls. I can multiply back to know how many calls I have to make to close 1 client. And if I need 1 a week and I have to make 60 calls, I make 15 calls a day. And I will start getting my numbers after about a 4 to 6 week period on a monthly basis. Now, the next thing you do is look at the numbers. Say, well, wait a minute, I'm making 10 calls to have 1 conversation. What if I can have 1 conversation of every 5 calls? Now I have to do half the work.
Right.
And what if instead of 1 of every 3 closing, I got it 1 of 2 closed? Well, now I'm doing 1/3 less of the work. And the object is to get it down to the point where you know what your numbers are and you know what's going to come out the back end, and you adjust behaviors, and then you sharpen the saw where you need help. I wasn't going to go into that today, but that's part of what you need to do to have a sales process. I don't mind doing a little extra. It's fine. Whoever's listening to this still gets something out of it. Okay?
Thank you.
Watch it. Good. So the prospect has a system. You can't get predictable results if you don't have a system, if you don't have a cookbook. And a lot of people run around hoping things are going to work. I call it smoking hopium. Hopium is addictive. You got to stop it. Okay? Number 5, you're not going for no. That sounds counterproductive. Everybody else is trying to get people to say yes. If you do everything like everybody else, they know exactly how to guard against you. If you go for no, and if I'm selling sales training, which is what I do, I say, and you probably have no need for sales training because you've got more business coming in the front door than you can handle at this point. True?
Yeah.
And if true, you and I are friends, and I just confirmed that you don't need me.
Exactly.
But what would most people say? Well, no, we could always use more.
Yeah.
So going for the no, going in the direction of no is counterintuitive for anybody in a consulting or sales capacity. You probably don't need what I have.
Yeah.
Number 1, it's disarming. Number 2, it's honest, because I really don't know if you need what I have, but it opens them up to a conversation.
Well, and it's such a more honest conversation, because how many times do I get emails? How many times a week do I get emails saying, we've looked at your website, you need this, or, we, as a business owner, where do you stand with this? We think you need what we have. And honestly, you know what? Even if I did, I don't know you. I'm not thinking about that product or that service right now. I'm
I,
dealing with other stuff.
I sat down with a very, very powerful businessman. He just passed away, I learned recently. He was 75 years old when I met him 10, 15 years ago. He passed away in his 90s. Very, very wealthy guy. I'm talking billionaire type guy. And I walked into his office in 2002, and he's 6'5", 6'6". I am 5'6" on a good day. He's got the big office with the 2 glass windows across Universal Studios. Everybody drops to their knee and say, "Hi, I'm Eric. I'm your 10 o'clock. Why don't we sit over here?" He stands up, realizes how tall he is. And he said this to me. He said, "Eric, I got to let you know one thing right up front. I never buy anything from anybody the first time I see it." Room got real cold. I looked up from my shoulder and because I'm walking over to the chairs, and I laughed. I said, "David, you probably don't even qualify for this program. This is going to be a short meeting." And the look on his face was a WTF look. And I could hear the personal conversation going on in his head. Don't qualify. I'll decide if I qualify. This little guy doesn't tell. I could actually hear that going on in his head. We sat down. 45 minutes later, he called his COO into the room. 45 minutes later, I got a signed contract. The first thing I said to him is, "You probably don't qualify for the program. It's going to be a short meeting." I pulled directly towards no. He pulled in the opposite direction. If you pull towards no, they either go to no or they pull towards yes. Or what if you let them win?
Yeah.
Okay? And what I do is I engineer a conversation in which, if they have a problem or an issue, I make a safe place where they can reveal to me the area that they're failing in. That's part of what we have to understand. When we talk to business owners and business people, regardless of what you're selling, whether it's a copy machine, whether it's training or coaching or production work, they've got to admit, I am failing at something and you're a stranger. So you've got to create a place where they can talk to you. We could do another hour just on that. Exactly. Number 6, you're not doing a diagnosis before you try to write the prescription. If you're selling pens, you're going to try to make sure everybody buys a pen from you. Some people don't use pens. Okay? A lot of people only use a tablet. They don't write anything on paper anymore. They think it's wasteful. Okay? So it doesn't matter. I went to the Azores, and they have no land animals in the Azores. Did you know that, Ann?
No, I didn't know that.
There's no squirrels. There's no mice. There's no rats. There's no hamsters. There's no pigs. There's no dogs. There's no cats. There's no snakes. There's no lizards.
Wow. Because
it's 1,000 miles off the coast of Europe. Birds are the only animals that are on the island. So no matter how good your mousetrap is, you ain't selling it in the Azores. Do you have a mouse problem? No? Good. Then we're going to talk about the tea that you grow here. So do a diagnosis before you start telling people what you have. Do they actually need what you have? Our job, just like a doctor, is to find the real problem. I went to the doctor years ago. My hip was hurting. The doctor said, "It's not your hip, it's your back." "Are you sure?" I said, yeah, it's referred pain from here. What if the doctor had replaced it? I'd still have the damn pain. Would it be nice to do a full diagnosis? How many times salespeople go in and they start trying to sell what they have before they figure out what the client needs? Present before you find out what they really need. They suffer from PPS, premature presentation syndrome. They show up and throw up. They're so happy they want to finally get in front of somebody. Let me tell them why my stuff is better. They may not need your stuff. It doesn't matter. They may need it like they need oxygen. Let's figure that out first. Find the real pain. Go do some reading on exploration of pain, doing a gap analysis between where they are and where they want to be in whatever area that you're selling. And if that gap is big enough and costing them enough money, they'll then begin seeing you as the possible one that can help them bridge the gap. Don't commit sales malpractice. Don't write a prescription before you've done a diagnosis. Trying to do a proposal before you're sure they'll actually need what you got, they can afford what you have, and you're dealing with the decision maker is malpractice. Ever done a proposal and find out they don't have the money?
Yes, I have.
would at first conversation if we asked the right questions and found out whether or not they had the money, whether they were willing to spend it, and whether they were willing to fire the current vendor before you do a proposal.
You've got to
So,
know those ideal clients and who you're selling to. Yeah.
number 7, you're not doing your behaviors. Thomas Edison said, if we did all the things we were capable of, we would literally astonish ourselves. And let me ask you a question. If I became your salesperson today, you hired me to be your salesperson, you had me as a salesperson, what are the things you'd have me doing this week to go out and sell for you? What are the things you want me to do? Let's say I'm going to see 2 people a day, step 2 and hold 2 every day. You want me to go to 2 networking meetings a week, 1 virtual, 1 live. You want me to join 1 referral group. You want me to set up 2 talks a month rather, where you're going out and talking to an organization. I want to have 1 strategic alliance meeting with somebody every week.
Yeah, I see where you're going. Yeah.
But now you've got a list of the things and the behaviors I need to do. Good. I tell business owners to do now at this point, you now have the list of what I'm supposed to do. Good. Sit yourself down in that seat and go do what you just told your salesperson to do, because you're your salesperson. So you have someone to do it, you have to do it. Prospecting, cold calling, networking, follow-up, speaking, asking for referrals, doing webinars, podcasts, anything that will put you in front of the people that need to be seeing you, where they're going, you know what, I need to talk to her. I need to talk. Number 8, you don't challenge your prospects. I'm there to challenge the status quo in whatever I sell. When I was selling business consulting, I had a direct marketing company for 15 years. My wife had a bakery. The hotel was doing their wedding cakes in-house. I had to disrupt the status quo and get the catering director to realize it was more profitable to have the cake done out of house and use us as a referral source. I'm challenging the status quo. So you've got to challenge the status quo. You got to ask them the tough questions. How are you putting up with that with your current vendor? You've been with them 10 years. They should be treating you better than that. I'm sitting next to you saying, why are you putting up with that? And you start saying, damn, why am I putting up with that?
Yeah.
This is fun when you get good. Will they like you? We are so concerned about being liked. And this was one of my problems. I wanted everybody to like me. And what it did is it made me weak, and I wouldn't ask the things. And I wound up hurting people, because this is my philosophy. If I sit and talk with somebody and I know that they would really benefit from the services that I offer, that really would be a huge win for them, and they don't buy from me, I feel like I hurt them because I was not good enough in that conversation to get them to see clearly that this was in their benefit. Always make sure that the prospect wins bigger than you, and then you're always looking out for the prospect. They like me? No, I'm going to ask you some tough questions in a gentle fashion. People say to me, I don't know why I'm telling you all this. I would say, look, if you're uncomfortable, we can stop, but it sounds like you got to talk to somebody about this. Anything we say is not going to leave the room unless you want it to. Fair?
Right.
Should we stop? I've never had anybody stop. They lean in and they go, all right, let me tell you what's really going on. And that's where you do it. Everything that I teach and everything in this whole process is learning to be a facilitator of the truth. I think we talked about this first time you and I met. The truth is they need you or they don't need you. And if job is not to convince them to buy from me, but to work with them to figure out with them which of those 2 things is true, we have a very different conversation. There are conversations you need to be having. And they may not like me because I'm going to ask them a tough question. People say, look, I'm very uncomfortable with these questions. I'm really sorry, man, but somebody's got to ask them to you. And I got nothing to lose. Look, if you don't want to fix it, let's stop talking about it. No, I got it. You want to keep talking? Yeah, let's keep talking. You don't want them to like you. You got to overcome the need to be liked.
Yeah. That gets at the, like what's the, the goal of even having this conversation. Most of us probably would fall back on, I want to be liked. Well, that's not going to get you the sale. When you look at it from that perspective, it's like, oh, shoot.
We could talk for an hour about what real bonding and rapport is and how you get the wall down and what I call radical empathy with people. So that when you're 5 minutes into the conversation and they just feel comfortable with you, and you're not trying to pull anything over or do anything to them, you're just making them comfortable so you can have the conversation you need to have. You don't have an ulterior motive.
Right.
Overcoming that need to be like, if you don't ask the tough questions, nobody else will. Number 9, you do too much free consulting. You're happy to give away information and proposals. We talked about that a little earlier, but you don't get paid for free consulting. So you're happy to give away the information. The internet, it looks like a big one. Oh yeah, I'm going to put some numbers out. Oh, look, it's almost business here, one contract. And so you put information in. Then they want more information. And then you become a free font of information. They want to steal. They back up the truck. You're helping them load it.
Because you might find yourself, just wanting to help so much that you cross that line without thinking about it, right? So you need to go into it knowing what you will and will not say, right?
It's more than that.
Okay.
I'm going to show them how smart I am. Give them information. You remember who Columbo was.
Yep.
It takes a really smart person to ask what I call dummy questions. Well, why are you putting up with it? It's a dummy question. What you want to say is, I can fix that for you, and here's what you should be doing. And what I do is I say, well, why are you putting up with that? How long have they been doing that to you? And the more that you're dwelling on it and explaining the problem to me, the more frustrated they're getting with the current vendor or their situation.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the more frustrated they are, the more likely they are to make a change. So stop doing the free consulting. Don't spill everything on them. What are the chances of closing? I tell people, when you put out a proposal, if you don't feel like you got a 70 or 80% chance of closing it, you shouldn't be putting a proposal.
Right.
I disqualify quickly. Don't be in what I call bid, quote, and hope mode.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the professional proposal writer. Start charging people for your proposals. That's another conversation. Number 10, you're taking think-it-overs. I've been married. We just had our 32nd anniversary last week.
Congratulations.
What does think-it-over mean at home?
I'm not going to do anything.
No. My wife just said no in the other room.
Yeah. Good. Well, that's what I thought it was. It also means I'm not going to do anything.
When I'm in front of a large group of people and I'm discussing this, I'll say, ladies, what does think it over at the whole meeting? And universally, every woman in the place goes, no. But what do you think it means when a prospect says, I need to think it over? 90%, 93% of the time, it's a polite no. And if you don't deal with that right now, when they tell you, chances are they're now in the witness protection program. What you do is you don't try to fight it. You take them to no.
Yeah.
And I completely understand that you want to think it over. Normally, when somebody says they want to think it over, it means they're really not interested. They just don't have a heart to tell.
Yeah.
Is that what's happening here? It's all right. You can be honest.
Well, and in this instance, then I'm going to tell you why I'm not ready. And it might be timing. It might be budget. It might be, I've got other things that I have to do before I'm prepared to work with somebody like you.
Most of the time, it's a misunderstanding. They go, no, you don't understand. I'm not a no. And they tell you, Benny's coming back tonight. He's the one who writes the check. Or I need to do this, or I need to do that, or I'd like to sit for 24 hours on big decisions. That's not a problem. We can get back together tomorrow.
Yeah.
But think it over normally means no. And the only one still thinking about it is the guy who wrote the proposal or the lady who wrote the proposal. Mm-hmm. How do we prevent it? We go for no. Normally this is a no. It's okay. You can tell.
Yeah.
Number 1, you got to think it over off the table. Again, another discussion. Number 11, you're emotionally involved in the outcome of the conversation. If you get emotionally involved, they control you. You ever get pissed off when they lie to you? You found out they were going to call you back and they didn't call you back, and now it's 3 weeks and they're still not calling you back? Yeah. You can't get emotionally involved.
And I think part of that, I think that's an issue for me sometimes, because I think, I'm always trying to see how my business applies to somebody else's business. And honestly, I get excited. I'm like, oh, wow, if I had the opportunity to work with them, this could be, this, I see the possibility, but that's not, I agree with you. I shouldn't let that take hold.
I'm a podiatrist. You have feet. Doesn't mean you need my services. Your feet are fine. They don't hurt. You don't need a podiatrist.
Yeah.
If you find you have plantar fasciitis, one day we may talk. But right now you don't need me. People don't always need you. And the thing is we have a 6-year-old on the inside. If any of you know anything about transactional analysis, parent, adult, child, ego states, read the book Games People Play. Our 6-year-old were all our emotionalized. And we get emotionally involved. You got to leave your 6-year-old in the car. Leave your 6-year-old at home with a video game. And don't bring him or her with you on a sales call. You're an actor on a stage playing the role of the salesperson, the consultant who doesn't get emotionally involved, who's there to figure out what their problem is and figure out whether or not I think I can even help. That's all I'm there for. Never get emotionally involved in a sales process. Remain third party, almost like you're observing from the outside. Well, that's not working. Let me ask you this. And have those conversations with yourself during, if you see something isn't working, tell yourself to do something different. Be an observer. All you remove. It's not about you. You can dance around the car once you get a mile away and you earn the commission. But you'd never show the win either. I would have people that would say yes when I was selling consulting work, and it was going to be a $3,500 commission for the hour that I spent with them. And they'd say, well, good, let's get started. I says, great, hang on, now I got to do paperwork. And I would the sign-up sheet, like, oh, crap, you're making work for me. Like, let me get through this quickly. And now I got to do the paper. And I just made a commission. And I didn't show that I was happy. I was happy for them because it was going to help their business, but I couldn't go, whoa, all right, let's high five. I couldn't do that. Okay, I'm an observer. Emotionally. Number 12, you don't have a professional coach. Most of the people I talk to don't have anybody who's really a coach. The best of the best in anything are always looking to get better. Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, they got a shot coach. Tiger Woods had a head coach, had a driving coach, had a putting coach, game strategy coach.
Yeah.
Okay. All of these people have coaches, the best of the best. But most people don't have a professional coach. Somebody can call bullshit on you and say, no, you shouldn't be doing that. You need somebody who will show you where the railings are and somebody who will prevent you from making mistakes. You know what the cheapest experience is, Anne? Somebody else's. If I can learn from your mistakes and not have to make those mistakes, so get a coach. Whether it's a sales coach, whether it's a business coach, whether it's an individual coach, but you need somebody that you're going to. Better yet, find a mentor. Find someone you really want to mentor with and see if they'll take you on as a mentee. I've got some kids that I was working with in the professional selling program at UCF years ago, 10 years later. I still see them showing up in class. And these kids are now getting into middle and upper level management positions, doing quite well. I said, you keep calling. She said, every time I come to class, you remind me of something that I stopped doing or something I should be doing. You're either green and growing or ripe and rotten. Okay?
Yeah.
My dad told me that. Number 13, you're not talking to real decision. Why? Because it's easier to get to the people further down on the food chain and the people that are professional proposal generators. What they'll do is they'll say, Ann, you work with this client, Eric will work with this client, Barry will work with that client. Tell them that they're in the lead the whole way. And then again, they say, now Fred has it. Fred's making the decision. It's out of my hands.
Yeah.
You plan stuff like that. You got to get to Fred before you start doing proposals. These people never tell you no. There's a book by Tony Parinello called Selling to Vito. Vito stands for Very Important Top Officer. It's not some guy in New York, okay? And he says Vito has an assistant. The assistant's name is Seymour. Seymour talks to vendors all day long. He's allowed to see more vendors. He's allowed to see more quotes and see more proposals. Seymour's allowed to say no. He's never allowed to say yes. So how many times do you find yourself dealing after 2-3 months? Oh my Lord, I was dealing with Seymour. Don't deal with Seymour. You have to ask people, how do you make decisions? Don't ask, are you the decision maker? They'll always lie to you. Right? Are you the decision maker? They go, oh yeah, I'm the decision maker. Ask this, Ann, in this voice. All by yourself? Like you're talking to a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
And watch the biggest football player crumble in front of you. Well, I will have to talk to Ann. Okay, who's Ann? Because Ann's the real decision maker.
Yeah.
All by yourself, leave the words big boy off. All by yourself, big boy? Just don't say big boy, but you stand like you're talking to a 6-year-old. Yeah. Are you the decision maker? All by yourself. And if it's anything other than, oh yeah, they're not the only decision maker.
What's the question? What's the next question? If they're not.
All by yourself? No. So who other than you would need to be involved, Ann?
Exactly. Thank you.
What roles do they play? Does their no outweigh your yes?
Yeah.
Who has veto power in the building? That's the gal I got to get to right there. Okay? Don't take a no from someone who can't say yes. 13 and a half. You're not closing the file. Think about the ones that you've talked to, that you put proposals out to, and you're still following up and still listed as being in the pipeline. This is especially true with sales. They keep stuff in the pipeline far too long. Prospects do not age like fine wine. They age like bananas. They go bad very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So, are there some you've been chasing too long? Go through your pipeline, and who would you actually bet money on? I've got 4, 5, 6, 8, 15 people in the pipeline. Good. How many of those would you put 100 hours on that you'll close before the end of the month? Watch their expressions change. Watch your expressions change. Man, I hadn't bet $100 on these 15. I'd probably only bet on 4 of them. Good.
Yeah.
Was your only real prospect. The other ones, you've got to call and give them the bad news. And by the way, this tip will make money for anybody listening to this if you do. Take the ones that have been out there too long. Call them up and say, hey, this prospect, I have some bad news.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to my boss. He said, there's no way you're going to go forward in this deal. And he told me I had to close your file, but I need your permission to do that. Did we close your file?
Yeah.
Basically, you're asking them in the politest way possible, is it over?
Yeah.
One of two answers. Yeah, it is over. No, don't close the file. Why not? And now you have the conversation. But 70, 80%, 90% of them will want to close the file. And there's a whole bevy of things you can say to prevent that once that's happened. But you've got to get them to know before you can work with them. It's good to know when it's over. Tell them it's over, which I just did. I got some bad news. I'm going to have to close your file because you're really not going to do anything on this. And my boss says after 90 days, I got to close it because prices are going up and we're going to have to requote it if you're not ready to move.
Right.
That's a drop close. So basically, that's the impending event close. The prices are going to be going up. You've been watching the news, so we can't honor anything past 15. So if you don't want to do this, can I shred the file?
So thank you so much, Eric. There's quite a bit, I think, for my audience who don't have a sales coach, who don't have other coaches, and who might just be starting to look at sales as the process that it deserves to be. I look forward to having you answer some questions about that in our podcast. So thank you so much.
Hope everybody got something out of this.
Thanks. If you found this valuable and you're thinking to yourself, I need to create some video content for my business, but I'm not confident I could pull it off professionally enough. That's literally what we help people with at Pro Video Pages. No pressure, but if you want to see how we make this ridiculously simple for busy professionals, just check out the link in the description and reach out.